I am well aware that she's read a ton of books, so I narrowed down her recommendations to her most recent favorites video, and from there, I picked these books.
The pen came out again. I've been underlining things, and that hasn't happened since my past 5-star read, so things are looking very good with this book, okay?
I was gonna read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow because that one is so viral. But she did say that it is a lit fic. If you've been following me for a while, which I'm pretty sure you haven't because I'm pretty new here on YouTube-ish, I don't have a great history with lit fic, but she did tell her viewers to consider reading any book written by Gabrielle Zevin because of her distinct writing style. So I chose a way shorter book that is also Haley's favorite, that is also written by Gabrielle Zevin. This is The Storied Life of AJ Fikry. Hello. I'm at almost 80% done with this book. So far, I really enjoy it. This might be the first literary fiction book that I actually really love, that I don't find boring. I didn't expect to be at this point so quickly. I started reading this on Monday, and today is Friday, so that's like, what, 4 days? And I don't want it to end yet. The story follows a grumpy old troll named AJ Fikry, who is a bookstore owner. He's very bitter about life, especially ever since his wife passed away and his book sales isn't doing so great. But his life is about to be turned around when his most prized possession is stolen, and then there's a baby randomly showing up in his life. It's giving Despicable Me 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure you're already familiar with Despicable Me. Not that AJ Fikry is a villain, he's just like Gru, despicable. So yeah, it's about the baby and AJ Fikry, and then there's a romance subplot like Despicable Me 2, kind of. I'm really loving it so far. I couldn't put this book down. I wanted to because I didn't want the story to end this fast. I have a feeling that I'm gonna finish this book today. I don't know. We'll see. Oh no! Huh? Haley Pham, a word? I gotta say, Gabrielle Zevin made me change my mind about how I think about literary fiction. I guess it all depends on the writing style to determine whether you like literary fiction or not. Maybe as a whole, I can't really decide. It just depends on the books and the writing style. And for me, Gabrielle Zevin, evidently I liked her writing style. It really flows. If I have all the time in the world, I would definitely finish this book in a day. In terms of her distinct writing style, Haley actually mentions this, but I don't see it. But to be fair, I don't read as long or as frequently or as much as Haley does for me to see the distinction of Gabrielle's writing style. But I really love how she writes. You will definitely see me reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I thought I was gonna cry when I get to the end of the book because Haley cried, and I tend to get emotional easily, but this time I did not cry. But that does not mean that I'm not upset, okay? How do I say this? The ending is sad, but it definitely ended on a good note. I don't know how else to describe this without mildly spoiling the ending, but it feels like the end of an era, which is sad and happy at the same time. I really love the character development. AJ Fikry, you get to see him being a changed man. Not entirely, but he's grown to be a man that is admirable. I love how in the story, he owns a bookstore, right? In this really secluded island where everyone knows everyone. And over time, his bookstore really influences a lot of people there to read. I think if you're someone who doesn't read a lot or is trying to get back to reading, you should definitely read this one. I think not only will you enjoy the story, I hope, I mean, I did, but it'll also motivate you to read more because there are some people here who aren't a big fan of reading at first and then ended up actually loving it. Overall, great book. I can definitely understand why Haley gave it 5 stars. I also gave this book 5 stars. Otherwise, Yeah, on to the next book.
In my mind, I always say that this is my favorite romance book, but it was also the first one I ever read, so I didn't know how much of that bias was going into that review.
I don't think it would be fair if I don't include at least one of her favorite books of all time. So this is Beach Read by Emily Henry. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first rom-com novel she's ever read when she's getting back to reading. I guess because of that bias, I thought this book is gonna be like, at least it's all right. But the more I read it, the more I can't put this book down. It's The story is about these two writers with specialties of their own. So the girl writes rom-coms and the guy writes literary fiction, but in sort of a morbid fashion. So they made this bet where the guy makes rom-coms and the girl makes morbid literary fiction. And because this is a rom-com, of course, they're gonna fall in love with each other. The part of this book that won my heart is the Taylor Swift You Belong With Me moment. To give you context, they're neighbors and their kitchens sort of face each other, and then there's this huge window where they can see each other, and that's where they would write their own stories for their bet. And they would look at each other and then they would write notes and display it to each other, like Taylor Swift's You Belong With Me. There's also a bunch of other rom-com references here. For example, I'm just gonna spoil one more time. When they were making this bet, the guy's like, okay, you gotta promise me something, and then the girl's like, what is it? And then the guy's like, he quoted, what's that? He's all like, I can totally see why Haley loves this book so much. It has the banter. We love a good banter. It also has very similar characteristics to Better Than the Movies, another favorite of Haley's. So, first of all, the banter. The girl is low-key delulu and has familial issues. The guy is annoyingly charming. They reference rom-coms. And enemies to lovers trope. Again, I didn't expect to read up to this point so fast. The book is that good. The books are that good. Haley's tastes are okay. So I'm gonna finish reading the rest of this book, and I'll let you know my thoughts afterwards. I loved it. If you love Better Than the Movies, you would love Beach Read. I really love their chemistry. Spice scenes aside, the book the book really the book just hits you in the feels. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've said a lot already before, and my thoughts after this are still the same. I still loved it. I guess my only issue with it is the spicy scenes. It's really, really, really spicy. I kind of don't get why it has to be there, but other than that, really good. The question is, do I like Beach Read or Better Than the Movies better? I don't know. I mean, I want to say Better Than the Movies, but just because Beach Read has that. But I can just skip that part again, right? When I'm rereading it. So, yeah, problem solved. Weirdly, my selection of her recommendations are kind of coincidental. Both of them low key talk about books. Because the first book, the character is about a bookseller, and the second book, the characters are writers. I really, really loved Haley Pham's recommendation so far. It's been great. It's been a blast. I cannot believe, again, I didn't expect to really have that drive to finish the two books so much. I finished Beach Read in 3 days. Also, let me know if you want me to read any other YouTubers' recommendations. Better be good. I've already read Better Than the Movies. last year. If you want that review, you can watch. That video will be linked down below. Don't worry.